Hello, and welcome to episode 101 of the SheGulls podcast, the one and only podcast dedicated to Brighton Hove Albion women's football team. I'm your host, Duncan. I'm joined today by fellow Albion fans, Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Duncan.
And by Claire. Hello, Claire.
Hello, Duncan.
And Abby, sadly, is missing in action tonight. I'm sure she'll be back soon. It's just the awesome foursome. We need something for threesome, don't we? No, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Things, would it be rude?
That's where I was going as well. That's just my natural default is to go down the slightly childish and
Sorry, Charlie, I've knackered Abby in France all week.
She's been away on holiday.
She's a bit knackered, I think.
She could even have sunstroke. It's been very hot.
Very hot, although she missed the heat, so I have suffered through that. But
mind you, she was probably in the UK when she had our heat. So
true.
You never know.
True, but I'm not letting you have that because you didn't get anywhere near our hell.
That's true. Charlie suggested the OGs, so you could have the OGs. But what about the OG some threesome? There you go.
The OG some threesome.
How about that?
Fantastic.
So it's been a little while, hasn't it? So we should sort of find out how everyone's getting on. Thank you for everyone who listened to episode 100, our big interview with Dario, and a little bit of a quiz about the past 100 episodes of the podcast. It seems to have gone down really well. Had lots of people sort of message and say what a really enjoyable episode it was, and what a good way to mark the 100 up in terms of how many we've done. So what have you guys been up to while we've been away? I'll start with you, Ben.
Well, I mean, it's been warm, hasn't it?
It has.
It's been kind of difficult to do anything much really without having to have a shower afterwards, if you pardon the expression. But I mean, it just there's been other football. Boys' football's been on. Obviously, I've been watching a lot of the cricket as well. Obviously the men have been making idiots of themselves in the Test matches against New Zealand, but the girls have been doing awfully well in the T20 World Cup. So, just watching as much as that as I can. Really, it's been great. Really mourning the fact that Danny White-Hodge isn't a Sussex player anymore. But it's been nice. The weather's been nice, but it's been a bit over nice sometimes.
Yeah, it's cliche, isn't it, to say it's hot, but it's too hot. But this has really been taking the mickey hot. Like, it's not just like people whining at this stage. It's people actually like keeling over and, that sort of situation. So I bought an air conditioning unit about 2 or 3 years ago. Honestly, best thing I ever did was have that. So as soon as the mercury started rising, I was like, right, that's coming out from under the stairs. The only thing is it kind of looks like some sort of machine you've put together, because it's got this hose out the back. You have to hang out of the window, and it's not very technologically advanced. All the places you see in the States and stuff, it's all built in and everything, and they've got a special, this, that, and the other. This is just literally a massive great hose that hangs out of the window. So, it was a godsend. Claire, you've been away. Tell us where you've been and how you've been getting on.
I've been over to France, in the centre of the heat dome, as it was called. I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and some of Thursday, it was possibly 45 degrees most of the time. In the car, when we noticed it was registering 49.
But it even goes up that high.
It could have been hotter when we first got in, because we first got in and we just went bloody hell and just opened the doors and stood back. So it could have been hotter than that when we were at that point. But we didn't have any aircon. We had a fan. And
between you, or did you manage one each?
I had one in my room, and the rest of the house had one. So we had one fan pretty much between us for most of the time. It was very, very warm, so hot that by 11 o'clock you had to go inside. You couldn't even sit in it. It was ridiculous. But we ate lots of salad.
Yeah. That's one way of putting it.
Lots of salad. I did have a few beers, so I took one.
Yeah.
I took one for the team because basically there was millions of bitey flies, but they liked my beer bottles. So I was taking one for the team by drinking more beer and leaving little bits in the bottom of them for the flies.
Like a little trap.
And then they stopped biting us because they were drunk and dead. So that was quite good. But it was a nice time away. But I'm glad the heat disappeared because I'm not made for that.
No, neither am I.
I like the sun, but that was just no.
Yes, yeah. I like the sun when I'm in the shade, not when I'm being cooked in my own juices, as it.
Yeah, I don't mind a little bit of sunbathing, a bit of getting nice and snugly warm in it, and going for a dip in the pool. But we didn't even have a paddling pool, so
To be fair, the water would have evaporated virtually as soon as it touched the plastic anyway. So
I did come up with a very good aircon trick though. I bought a little spray bottle, filled it with water, and put it in the freezer, and then sprayed myself with the cold water. That was quite nice.
That is a good idea.
That was quite nice. And then as the fan came around and whipped you out, it was like freezing. It was like, yes, fabulous.
Yeah. Because they say you should get like an ice tray or whatever, freeze it, and then put it in front of your fan. But actually, you've gone one step further because you've got the cool mist.
Misted myself.
Like
I was like the tomatoes in Waitrose. Do you know what I mean? With that cool mist, just
slightly spritzed.
Yeah, slightly spritzed. Nice. It was lovely.
Very nice. There we go. So sort of some sporting things going on in the background. Certainly for us, and obviously Claire's had a little bit of a breakaway, so we thought best get back on the gravy train, as it were, and do episode 101. So we're just going to be talking about sort of news that we've had basically since we stopped at the end of the season after the FA Cup. We've had a few departures, couple coming in, a few rumours and things like that. So obviously just going to go through those. So hopefully nothing too heavy. Just some exciting things going on with the club and our thoughts on them, really. So I think maybe before we get to the sort of excitement of the new signings, we haven't really had a chance to assess the players that have actually left the club or talk about the players that have actually left the club. Obviously, to a certain extent, they've left the club. So, how much do we want to analyse them? But, they were all, good servants to the club in their own way. So I think they deserve I was going to say an obituary. That sounds like they've died, doesn't it? But, like a sort of a little bit of a chat about them and kind of what they did for the club. So let's start with Baggers, and I'll start with you on her, Claire. So 3 players were announced as leaving pretty much. I think it was within a couple of days after the FA Cup final. So Sophie Baggerly, Libby Bance, and Rose Kafaji. Obviously, as far as I know, it was only Baggers who was kind of in the first team squad and got released. Obviously, Libby had been on loan probably for the last 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah,
2 at least. 3, yeah, there we go. Our loan correspondent, of course, so you would know. And obviously, Rosa's returned to Arsenal after her loan. I did see Michelle was mentioned in one of our new signing things about her loan ending, and I sort of thought, well, that ended quite a while ago, didn't it? Really, in practice. So yeah, Claire, sort of give us your thoughts on Sophie Baggerly leaving the club and what she did in her time here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was an obvious one. I think once Chia came along, that was very much our number one, and you kind of look at Sophie. She's at that age where if she wants to be a number one and be playing, she's probably got to move at sort of, what is she, 27, 28, something like that. So I completely get it why she's decided not to sign a new contract. If one was offered, I don't know. But, we had some great games with Sophie in goal last season. That yes, there was times when you're like, oh my God, what's going on there? But that game against Arsenal, that will live with all of us, won't it? For the saves that she pulled off that day. And so, yeah, sad to see her go because she was always seemed to be a happy person around the place, and always came over to the fans and spoke to people at the end of the season and stuff. And it'll be sad to see her go, but also I think good luck to her in wherever she ends up, because she deserves to be a first team player. But just unfortunate for her that, you know, a player like Chia has come in, and it is what it is, isn't it? She is who she is, and you wouldn't want to change her. She is our number one, and we want to keep it that way. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, wish her all the best. It's the best thing for her, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, I think we could all sort of see it coming to a certain extent. I mean, obviously, we've got Melina, who we'll talk about a little bit later in more detail, but in theory, she's coming back. We don't know whether in practice that will happen, but you know, Baggers was always going to be number 2 to Chia. Her contract was coming up. And when we signed her, I would have thought, you know, she was at Man United, so I would have thought she would have come in on a fairly sizable wage. And for a player who's not going to play very much, you know, they may have thought that their resources were better allocated somewhere else.
Yeah.
You've also got Hannah there as well. You know, she's going to be 21 for the next season, so she's going to need registering, which will be good from a sense because she'll be a homegrown player. But equally for her development, she needs to not be a number 3 really if you're interested in developing her into an actual, you know, a Brighton player.
Yeah.
So that's a decision that they have to make as well, is whether they bring now someone in, whether they recall Melina, you know, whether they promote from within with Hannah. So I think it was just, we've got a lot of quite good goalkeepers and we've got quite a good goalkeeping pipeline. And it just felt like we didn't need her in the nicest possible way. We didn't need her anymore. And I think from that perspective, exactly like you say, it was better that she, you know, that she goes and kind of is on like pastures new and stuff like that. And she can get a shot at a club where she is going to be a first team.
Well, exactly,
player.
because, you know, she is on the periphery of the England squad. There is a World Cup next season. You know, if she can get herself into that squad, she's going to the World Cup. You know, even if it is as a number 3 or 4, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You're in the squad. You take your chances if they come, and for that, she will need to be playing regularly. You know, I'm pretty sure she's probably had that conversation with Serena. And she needs to be number 1 somewhere to sort of push for that spot on the squad, because she's almost there. She's on the edge of it. So yeah,
it feels like maybe one of the new teams that were promoted might be a good place to go.
Potentially, yeah.
Other than the fact that obviously Charlton's keeper had an absolute blinder in the playoff against Leicester, so I don't think they'll be.
Well, she's had a blinder all season, to be fair.
Yeah, she has.
But you know, you wouldn't be surprised if you saw somebody come in for her, and then that opened up a spot. So you know, you just don't know, do you? There's quite a lot of time now between now and I've got a SheGulls on my face. That's nice.
I'm moving it.
Yeah, that's right. There's quite a lot of time between now and the season starting, when the transfer window shuts. So you can see quite a lot of movement, especially with goalkeepers, because they are few and far between. And if you are in need of one, and I think Arsenal have been looking for a while, haven't they? I don't know if they picked one up now. But yeah, it only takes a team a little bit further up the table to sort of be interested, and they'll move. So who knows?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that probably goes in her favour is obviously she is a homegrown player as well. So teams do like to stack themselves with homegrown players as goalkeepers, because it's a good place to, you know, if you need to have that 7th and 8th player on your roster, and then you need them to be English, then having them behind your sort of number 1 goalkeeper who may well be foreign, then that works quite well, because it means you only need 6 in your actual outfield squad. So that can be quite handy. Ben, what were your sort of thoughts on Baggers leaving?
Yeah, I mean, echo what Claire said. Really, she's been wonderful, hasn't she? The last 3 seasons, I think. A few little bits and bobs. I think we've sort of not criticised, but we've sort of remarked on the fact that she's not the tallest keeper out there, so has been vulnerable to a few sort of higher shots. But then again, there was that save against West Ham last season where she comes from nowhere and plucks it out of the top corner. So I mean, I think the fact that she is only a vertical 5'6" can be the only thing really that holds her back from, as Claire said, she's on the periphery of the England squad. You'd think she'd be less peripheral if she was a bit taller. So, but yeah, I think she has been an amazing servant for the club. I think she came in almost as a number 2 because we got Nikki Everard in on loan, and I think she was the big headline. And it was like, oh yeah, we've got Sophie Bagley in reserve, and then Nikki had a few wobbles, and Baggers came in, and then obviously Nikki Everard got injured, and stuff, and Baggers just didn't look back, and it's been and she's she's one of the she's one of the loveliest in the squad. They're all lovely. She's she's been such a great person to have around at the games and stuff, and I've remarked on her knits for the other players, which I hope nobody's going to get cold this winter. But yeah, I mean, she does deserve to be sort of in a team where she's going to get regular games, not just like she played the League Cup games, didn't she, this year, and a couple of WSL games when Chia sort of was away for the WAFCON that then got cancelled, and a couple of WSL games I think when Chia's been missing. But I think there's clubs out there that should be crying out for a Baggers. So I hope she really gets a good one.
Yeah, I think as well from our perspective is we seem to have a style of goalkeeper that we want, and not every team I think has that or wants that. Not every team wants to pass out from the back, and I think that was her Achilles heel. I think she could make up a little bit to a certain extent with her height, but there's nothing she could really do about that. But I think when we became a team that wanted to pass out from the back, that started looking like it was occasionally a liability, and a couple of times it cost us goals and points. So yeah, I mean, I think she's been an absolutely great servant over her. I think would it be 3 years she's been here now?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been fantastic whenever she's been needed. She's been called up once or twice. Obviously, I think it was that game, wasn't it, where Melina got injured? That was when she stepped in, and she was really good. So absolutely fantastic servant to the club. And I think if she can go to a team where they don't have this thing of like, oh, we've got to pass it out the back, we've got to develop it from the back, and blah blah, and she can just go back to being a kind of an old-fashioned shot stopper, then she'd be great for, like I say, one of the promoted teams, or even like a second, but maybe at a bigger team. Like she was when she was at United or whatever. But I do think with Chia, and I think whoever is number 2 to Chia, and maybe even number 3, they will want them to be able to do the same things that Chia does, and part of that is kind of marshal that back line, come and be quite aggressive and stuff like that. And I don't think that was really Baggers' game. So
I think Baggers learned a lot from Chia this season. When you did see her play, she did play with a lot more confidence, and a lot more, taking charge of the box and being confident in all of that. So, I think it's like with everything, isn't it? If you're around people who are more experienced, better, whatever it is, and you're not learning from them, then you're probably going to struggle. But I think she did learn. I think she took on board what Chia brings to the game, and she could see why Chia was getting the nod over her, and I think she picked up a lot of it. So wherever she ends up, they're going to get a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to our next D-party, which is Libby Bantz. So Ben, I'll let you start with Libby, because you've probably seen more of Libby than we have for a long time because of keeping an eye on her for sort of loan watch. What did you make of Libby getting released?
I mean, I'm going to try and phrase this without sounding at all critical of Libby, but it's kind of not before time, because I think the last 3 years she's gone out on loan, and she's come back and she's gone to the summer training camp, and then almost on transfer window sort of deadline day, oh, Libby's gone out on loan to so and so. And I think it was almost like the club was holding on to her because she obviously she's homegrown. And it's like, well, we'll keep hold of her, and and then on deadline day, oh, we got a new player in Libby, you can go out on loan. So it felt like the club was messing her about. And I think when you go out on loan to a club, generally speaking, you're never sort of treated and nurtured as much as you are if you're one of theirs. So I think she did well at Rangers. I think that's a good club to be loaning people to, because I think obviously Jess Pegram had
she won a cup with Rangers, didn't she? I think.
I think so.
No, they were beaten in 2 cup finals because she was left out of both cup finals.
That'd be right.
But they played Libby a lot. But then she went to Bristol City and hardly played, and then she went to Birmingham this year. I think she got more minutes at Birmingham, but I think she might have had a few injuries. Again, I don't know. We don't talk about it, but I think it's about time Libby went to a club that valued her as their own player. Maybe she'll get taken on by Birmingham. I mean, I've seen from Instagram and things she's been on holiday with Visari, so maybe that's because she's sort of still playing with her teammates and stuff. I don't know, but a club like Birmingham could do really well at if she's actually their own player. So it'd be really nice to see her career kick on, because she's still only 22. She was playing in the WSL for us when she was sort of 17, 18. Still, obviously occasionally and things, but she actually has played more games for Brighton in the years before she went on loan than she has for the clubs when she was out on loan.
Yeah, so which is crazy, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's time that Libby went to a club that can value her and play her, and her career will start really kick on, because I think she's a very, very Again, it's difficult to say what she's like because you haven't seen enough of her to sort of know what sort of player she is, but she's very capable, and I think she could be a really good player for a club that wants her.
Yeah, I think that we never really got to see her kick on, because I think it got to the point in the WSL where I think she was like a good midfielder for us, and certainly an option off the bench in a worst case scenario. But it felt like maybe after the Euros and maybe the year after that, the level kind of jumped a bit. And I think they wanted her to kick on, and they thought the best thing to do to get her to do that would be to loan her out. But I think what's actually happened is it's almost stunted her a little bit, particularly the last 2 years, because she's not been able to kick on, because she's not actually getting on the field to do it. So I think if she stagnates at the level that she was when she played at Brighton, she probably is going to be looking at WSL 2, maybe like a reserve for like a Birmingham or someone like that, a squad player. But I think you've got to give her the chance to see if she can make that jump. And Brighton didn't really seem to want to do it for one reason or another. I think they maybe wanted more success more quickly, so they felt like that wasn't quite there, and that maybe loaning her out, that they'd see her pulling up trees somewhere else and go, oh God, we've got to get her back and play her next season. But it just never really happened. And I think you're spot on that she really needs to go to a club now where they're going to be like, right, Libby plays for us now. We're going to give her opportunities. We're going to train. She's going to train like everyone else. She's going to be involved in this, that, and the other. It's not just, keep her warm before we send her back at the end of the season, sort of thing. What was your take on it, Claire?
Yeah, I think exactly that, because I think I don't like these loans, to be fair. I think they're a complete waste of time right now. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're sending kids out to get experience. They're just sitting around on benches, not playing, never getting a go. They might get 10 minutes or something. And you're like, well, we could have given them that. Like, we could have done that. We didn't need to send them all the way to Bristol or Birmingham for that. But I think with Libby, like you say, she had the opportunity to sort of stamp herself on that spot in the Brighton squad when she was getting a game, and unfortunately that was in a squad that was regularly getting smashed 8-0 or 5-0 or whatever. So that squad had to be dismantled and got rid of and rebuilt. And that requires sometimes being a little bit harsh and being like, okay, you're not ready for it. And I don't think she was ready for it. She was a young kid. She needed to go out. She needed to, get some experience in life. I think a lot of it is that for me is what the loans are, is to go and get some experience in life. You're away from home. You're, looking after yourself. You're making new friends. You're, maybe even in another country for some of them. And I think then, like, yeah, they bring them back and give them the sort of transfer window segment to sort of, show us what you've learned then. And clearly not enough again. And it's right, okay, back out on loan again. And I think, like you say, there's only so often you can do that before you're kind of being a bit patronizing, really, to sort of say, oh, we'll send you out on loan again. It's like, look, you don't want me, let me go somewhere else. And I think, that's the best thing that can happen to a lot of youngsters at the moment, is they're not going to get straight into their club's first team. You don't want to be sending them out on loan for 5 years, just let them find a home somewhere where they can start to learn the game and the craft and play their game and become the player that they want to be,
Yeah, I think that obviously, we don't like to talk too much about men's football, but I was just trying to think when we were talking there. Obviously, Chelsea are well known for kind of buying all these youngsters up, loaning them all out for year after year after year. And I was thinking, actually, I don't think many of them have come back and ever been that good.
No.
The ones that have actually been good for Chelsea are the ones who are like they've bought for 75 million or 120 million, or there hasn't really been a player they bought for 10, went on loan for 4 or 5 years, and then they were like, oh my God, this is like the best player in the world. That's incredible. Like that's never really happened. And I think that's sort of a testament to how these loans kind of don't work long term.
And also it's very rare that youngsters come through an academy and go into a first team and make it. It's a really rare occurrence. Most of the time, I was looking the other day, they showed us the Where Are They Now, the Liverpool men's under 19 FA Cup winning team, and like 5 of them don't play football anymore. Half a dozen of them are playing in the lower leagues or some sort of, Greek, Turkish football league that you've never heard of. And I think there was 3 that had made it, but none of them played for Liverpool. And you're just like, that tells you it all, that it's really, really, you've got to really grab your opportunity when you get it and do something unreal, like Michelle Adjiman did when she came on for England. She grabbed that opportunity, and that was what spurred everything else. And every time she got an opportunity, she grabbed it and she did something with it. And if you're not doing that, you won't get into the top clubs squads, and you won't even get into the teams lower down, because nobody can risk putting it all on a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid when they're trying to stay in the WSL and not get relegated. No one's going to, it's a hard place to be. Lola Brown and, out on loan, barely getting this game. And yet she's one of the best youngsters there is. And you're just like, Crystal Palace and that just weren't willing to risk it. They were like, no, we've got to go with what we've got, experience, and get ourselves up. And so, I don't know how these youngsters are going to get a game. They're just going to have to, I don't know, step it up and prove that you can't get rid of them.
Yeah, and obviously, I think some of the WSL clubs would probably argue that this bringing the PGA teams into the pyramid somewhere, that's why they would want to do it, because it means that this loan system where you loan them out and then the team don't play them. Well, if it's your youth team that's in tier whatever it may be, and you want them to play, they'll play because you've got them still. They're still at your club. It's not under anyone else's management or anything. Other than obviously the coach of that team for you guys. But if we had a PGA team in, I don't think they should come in at tier 3, but if they came in lower, I don't know, tier 6 or whatever, and Dario said, look, we're really building up, let's for argument's sake say Tahira Heron, I need her playing week in, week out, then Danny Bowman or whoever is in charge of that team will play them week in, week out to get that experience. So I'm not as against this whole PGA teams coming into the pyramid as some people, but I do think there probably would have been a happy medium. And I think we've spoken about it before. My thing would have been to bring the PGA teams into the Subway Cup somehow, like they've done with the men's, because I think the men's, is it the under 21s, can enter the FA Trophy, I think it is.
I don't know.
So they get to play basically second and third, not second and third and fourth tier sides in preparation, basically for then getting a game for the actual full men's side. So I think they could have done something there without this, everyone's up in arms, and I think probably rightfully so that some teams might get sort of parachuted in and not have to fight their way up the leagues. And it's a very long and controversial subject. Like I say, I'm not as against it as some people are, but I get both sides, and I just hope that they can reach a happy medium without everyone.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is there's just not enough money in the women's game at the moment, because really, realistically, what you should have is a really, really strong academy league.
Yes, exactly.
Where every team in the WSL, WS2 has an academy team competing for a league and and trophies themselves. But that's we're playing strange games for our academy. I can't even work it out.
Well, and you sometimes get things where like one team will have played like 20 games and the other one will have played like 14 because of scheduling and et cetera, et cetera. Charlie's pointing out that there's a PGA trophy and plate, which there is. But my point would be is the PGA teams are not getting experience playing a full professional game. They're getting experience against other PGA teams, which is all well and good, but it doesn't really prepare them for actually playing in the, in the league. So I think they should find like I say, find a happy medium, find ways to get maybe the PGAs playing against the teams that are in the National League, but just not maybe in the league, if that makes sense. So it's it is very, very difficult. I don't envy anyone trying to sort it out, but one way or another they will. So hopefully, I'm sure Libby will find a home. I think she's definitely WSL2 quality at worst. And I think if she can go to a club that really cares about her and she does kick on a bit, then I think she could definitely find herself. So yeah, that's all good. Oh, there you go. Oh, I didn't know that. So the PGA Trophy and Plate does have National League teams in, apparently. That's what the comments are saying. So I stand corrected.
Well, there we go.
There we go. Yeah, I suppose we did play Worthing, didn't we? Was that that must have been in some sort of so yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah, we did play Worthing seniors, and I think we got knocked out in the group stage, didn't we? Or in the second stage, because it was scheduled. I remember now, it was scheduled the same time as one of our full team kickoffs. So I think that there's got to be some way we can develop the kids more and give them more opportunities without sending them out on loan and then other teams not playing them. So however that's going to be is above my pay grade, but we can all make suggestions. Yes, Charlie, we were. Sorry, that's my memory. I'm getting old now, I'm nearly 40.
Shut it.
There we go. Right. And let's have a little chat about Rosa. Obviously, she was only with us on loan, but we wanted. I think the majority of us would have liked her to stay, all things being equal. I think I've said before on the podcast, my caveat was just how much it was going to cost. So I'll start with you, Claire. If this is the last we see of Rosa, because I think never say never, isn't it? Where when players go back on loan, you never know.
I think there's a never say never with that. I think there's a possibility, but
you think, would you have her back, and what do you think? Would you give up like another player for her? Would you say?
I would prefer, if we're going to have her back, that we buy her and that she's our player, much the same as the Libby Bant situation. I think I think I think she felt quite settled in our squad and in our city, and I think she felt part of it. But there was clearly something missing. Like, she started off really well. I thought she was confident. She scored that great goal, and you thought, oh, here we go. And then it kind of went off the boil a bit. And I think obviously that Dario has his way that he wants people to play, and if you're not picking it up, he will bring you out. And that clearly was what happened. But he plays her quite a lot. He did use her quite a lot. So I think he sees something there. And I just think if she was our player, I think it just might have felt a little bit different. I don't know. But yeah, I would have her back. Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a reverse Libby situation, isn't it? In a way,
Yeah.
that we're saying if she was our player.
Yeah, you want her settled. You want to, it's that thing, isn't it? Of like, it's always in the back of your mind. Oh, I've got to move on at the end of the season. I'm going back to and clearly, I don't think she wants to go back to Arsenal. The way the way she celebrated us knocking them out of the cup. I'm like, there was no, politically correct. Oh, no. I'll just stand here politely and because this is my parent club and not celebrate this. She was over the moon, and I thought that just spoke volumes. So I wouldn't be surprised if she's going somewhere. I just don't see her at Arsenal personally, but that you can be surprised. Things can turn around quite quickly with a conversation. So who knows? But yeah, I think I wouldn't say no to her coming back, but I think now that we've had these 2 new signings, I'm kind of a bit like, have we got space for another foreign player? Because we really do need some homegrowns in there at the moment. So I would expect anything coming in now is probably going to be English.
Yeah, I think that is the difficult thing, isn't it? Is that we know we've got to have 8 English players, and I think we're starting to draw up a list almost to a certain extent of going, well, they're definitely not going. We just signed that one. They're definitely not going, and then we're going, hang on, we're probably down to like 8 spaces now, and that's even with some players going that haven't already, I think.
Yeah, I think there's not. I'm trying to think sort of how many British players we've got at the moment, because I don't even know. But I think it's in need of a few additions. So
yeah. Off the top of my head, I would guess 5 or 6.
We've got 4 English plus Caitlin counts.
Yeah, Caitlin does count. Yeah, she does count.
So yeah, we've lost Baggers, we lost Michelle. Emily was kind of not really properly in the squad anyway. Where's the other one gone?
Does Rachel count?
Rachel doesn't count. Rachel's proper Scottish.
That's the annoying thing. Scottish doesn't count. Welsh does.
Yeah.
If you were trained by the English or Welsh FA, it counts. If you were trained by the Scottish or Irish, for that matter,
So
FA, it doesn't.
We've got Bex, Rayner, Fran, Maisie,
and Hannah,
and Caitlin.
And Caitlin. Yeah.
So we
need at least 3.
Yeah. Which kind of would suggest that the next 3 in should all be English.
Because we only got rid of 3 and we've signed 2 new.
Yeah.
I know we had a space. We had a couple of spaces, I think.
We did have a couple of spaces. I think I think we had space for 5 to come in with the 3 going. And 2 of them have already come in and they're foreign. So yeah, it kind of suggests that 3 more would be English players.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can reduce the amount of homegrown players by the total size of the squad.
Yeah.
So basically, if you have 23 players in your squad, you can have 6 homegrown. But I don't see us wanting to have like a really low.
Well, that's what we did last season, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Around it.
Exactly. So if we're going to have a 25 player squad, there must be 8 homegrown. But if we had 24, we could go down to 7. If we had 23, we could go down to 6, and so on and so forth. But then you run the risk of we haven't got enough backup, basically.
Well, that's the problem we had, isn't it? Because we still don't know anything about Aisha, whether she's going to be staying or playing. She's been here 2 years and we've only seen her for like 20 minutes. So is she here for another season? Is she going? Like what's going on there? obviously Kiko and Maddie are starters, aren't they, for me? But other than that, it's kind of like, how we've got a couple more that have got contracts to sign. We don't know if they're signing them, so I'm assuming we'll find out tomorrow or in the next couple of days.
In theory, in theory.
Because June the 30th will be the end of contracts for a lot of them. So if they're not signing, that'll be announced. Yeah. Interesting.
It's going to be interesting because, like you say, I think we are going to probably want I think we're going to want at least 2 more English players. If not, I think we'd like to have all 3. Now, could you make an argument, as I have in the past, that Jess Pegram steps up and becomes that 5th defender? I think you probably could.
Absolutely, yeah.
The only thing I'd say to that is then you probably should be letting another defender go, which at the moment would probably be Marriott. So it all knock-on effect. You bring in, you say, okay, we're going to call up from within. Great, fantastic, homegrown talent. Although I think she came to Brighton maybe when she was like 15 or 16, so she's not like from the area or anything per se, but she's come through the academy. She'll have had 3 years trained in the country or whatever it is that she needs. But it has a knock-on effect because then it means, okay, you've got to find space for her in the squad then. And if we've got like 6 or 7 centre-backs, then depending on how they feel about Charlie, because sometimes they want her to be a centre-back, sometimes they want her to be a right-back. Maybe that's what they want, is to have that versatility. But again, if you've got 6 out-and-out centre-backs, then she's very rarely going to get a game at centre-back. So if you're trying to develop that aspect of her game, you're going to lose that because you're going to have players saying, well, hang on, I'm a really good player and I'm not playing. So it all has a knock-on effect. So I'd really like to see a couple of the kind of, maybe like I said about like someone like Olivia McLaughlin, where like Leicester obviously gone down, they're not really showing massive signs of like going, okay, we're going to blow millions on improving the team. Someone like that we could get in theory, it would be a good step up for her. Don't think she's probably ready to go to a top 4 team yet. So you maybe use it as a bit of a look, come to us, make us better. If we're a top 4 team, great. If we're not, go on your merry way at that point, once you've proved you're too good for us or whatever. Maybe a few players like that. But it does throw a little bit of a sort of a spanner in the works, because obviously you look at all the players that are out there in the world, and the majority of them with the right amount of money and everything like that, that in theory you could sign a lot of them. Obviously some of them are beyond our price range, but a lot of them we could get if we wanted. But it's that thing of, you've always got to keep in the back of your mind that you can't go over that kind of quota of for foreign players to English players. So it has to be a balancing act, really.
Exactly, because again, as Tim points out, we've got Olivia Garcia coming back. She's American. We've got Melina coming back. She's not English. So that's 2 more spaces in the squad taken up by not English players. So for me, it has to be whoever comes in next, they have to be English. England.
Do you know what? As you were saying that, I was thinking the same thing.
Left England,
Ben, what was your sort of thoughts on Rosa?
Again, I think it's one of those things where she's been. I mean, she wasn't out on loan when she was stagnating last season, because when you see, I don't particularly watch the women's champion or the men's Champions League because my team's not in it. None of my daughters are playing in that particular activity, so I don't really watch it. But when you see clips of what Rosa gets up to when she was at Häcken, not just in, you say, just in the Swedish league, but it wasn't just in the Swedish league. It was, Champions League. And
that's true.
Although there was a lovely clip where she runs through the entire Paris team and then Gia saves it. but some of the stuff, the stuff she was doing at Häcken was frightening. And then she just kind of gone to Arsenal and just stagnated. And then she came to us and sort of revived to a certain extent. But I think had she been our player, I think, was there a bit of a sniff that we might have been interested in her before she went to Arsenal? That usually happens.
Maybe, but I think she was always going to go to a big club. If that makes sense, because I think she was so good at Häcken. A bit like with Schroeder Obviously, you could argue that.
Yeah.
I think if Barcelona had money, they would have had Schroeder, but they're a bit hard up for cash at the moment, and obviously she went for well over $1 million. So I think Real Madrid sort of thought, do you know what? Actually, if we're going to start making inroads into Barca, let's just splash the cash. And I think that was always the thing that was sort of seen with Rosa, was she was so good for Hacken that she was only really going to be going to one of the top.
But she went to a top 4 club that either didn't suit her or didn't really want her.
And that's the grass is greener situation, isn't it? You know?
But I think, the top 4 clubs are quite, the big clubs in the men's game as well are guilty of this, that they're kids in the sweet shop. Oh, there's a good player, we'll have them, without really necessarily always thinking about what they're going to do with them. And they got Rosa, and they didn't know where to put her, and they didn't know what to do with her, and her morale. Don't want to say mental health, but possibly that as well. But her morale certainly took a big dip, and she hated it there. And then she came to us, and she did. Again, it wasn't necessarily always setting the world alight and pulling up trees on the pitch, but she certainly bloomed off it, and she really got herself back together again and got her personal morale up and stuff. And I think, as Claire said, she doesn't necessarily want to go back to Arsenal. She was when we played them and knocked them out of the FA Cup. She was definitely a Brighton player that day, even though obviously she couldn't play. So I think she's going to go back there, and she probably won't. She probably will get sent out on loan again. I don't know how long her contract is though, because if it was just a 3-year contract and she's out of contract at the end of the season, they're going to want to sell her because they're not going to get anything for her. So, I think, ignoring the whole homegrown question, there might be some turnover and stuff in other places that we could fit her in with. But I think if she did come to us, and she was our player, as we said, with Libby going out and stuff. If she came to us, she was our player. We valued her and we developed her, and we sort of, rather than trying to crowbar her into our system, we sort of adapted our system to fit this amazing talent that we've got now. Then but again, it always depends on how much money they'd want, and obviously the homegrown thing, and whether or not the signings we've been making have been replacing her.
Yeah,
but there was a little bit of speculation, certainly on my part anyway, the other day when she Instagrammed a couple of pictures of herself on a skateboard on Worthing Seafront. I thought, what's she doing in
She's not in any hurry to leave.
Yeah, but then it was. I think she posted them in the middle of the afternoon, and the pictures were taken at sunset, so they obviously weren't from that day. So they may have been from a couple of months ago or something. I don't know, but it was just sort of what? Hey, what? She's since gone on holiday, so I don't know. But you kind of never know. I certainly would never say never with Rosa, because when you look at what she did at Hacken, if she can get 75% as good as that again for us, then we're scary next year.
You're going to really appreciate this segue, because I was going to say that I think the one sort of fly in the ointment, I think, is I do think we would have to move people to accommodate her, because we now have basically 2 left wingers, or 2 left-sided midfielders, as it were. So let's talk about our new signings a little bit, because one of them is a left winger, and weirdly listed as a right midfielder on the Soccer. Take Soccer with a little bit of a pinch of salt. Not the actual rumours. The rumours are pretty much, as we've said before many times, if there's a rumour in the women's game, it's almost certainly happening or happened. Obviously, it doesn't always result in a transfer just because someone's interested. But as soon as they start reporting, multiple sources and things like that, it normally does go through. But yeah, she plays the majority of her time out on the left wing. She can play on the right hand side, but I wouldn't have thought you would sign someone who normally plays on the left to play on your right. And obviously, Ollie is primarily a left-sided attacker. Again, they might think they could move her across to the right hand side, but again, why would you take? You can't take every left back and assume they're going to be really good at right back and so on and so forth. So I don't know, again, why you would change that you know, the makeup of that player into a different side. Its versatility is great, but you know, you don't play a striker at defender because they can kick a ball really hard. That's not how it works.
Well,
So
I'd get a game then.
well, there you go.
That's all the
I have to put
criteria is.
a word in. Yeah, so I'm going to go. Let's go chronologically. So actually, our new left winger / left forward / left midfielder is actually the second signing that we made, because we all got very excited last Friday. It felt like that meme of the lady from Titanic going, "It's been 84 years." You know, we were waiting very, very patiently. We were trying so hard not to be like, "Where's our bloody signings?" Everyone else is getting players in right, left, and centre. All these world names and stuff. We're like, "Come on, they've got Putellas. We need someone, just anyone." Like, you know. So yeah, the news dropped on sort of Friday. Was it for Friday lunchtime ish? So I think many of us had already thought, "Ah, that's us done for the week. Nothing this week." And then they dropped a little surprise, which is Emilia. So it's spelled Emily, but it's pronounced Emilia, just to make sure
Just
that
to
we're
confuse
confused.
us.
Yeah, exactly. Joramo. So she is a Yoramo. Sorry, Yoramo. Yeah, she's a midfielder coming in from Hammarby. They seem to get raided basically every transfer window. They get raided. So yeah, really good. I was going to say young player. She's not young. She's not a prospect. She's already pretty well proven in the Swedish league. She's played some Champions League with Hammarby, and obviously they got to the Europa League final. You know, where they obviously lost to Häcken, but then they did win the sort of Swedish Cup. I think I'm right in saying, Ben. They beat Häcken in that one. So you know, she's got good experience. She won some trophies there. She's actually Norwegian, so that's one thing just to clarify, because I think a lot of the time you hear a Scandinavian name and they come from Sweden, the Swedish league, and you think, oh, Swedish, but no, she's Norwegian. So obviously she mentioned in her little interview that she has spoken to Ollie about being here. I don't think, I thought initially that they'd played together somewhere, but at a club together. I don't think they have, but they would both have been in the underage categories, in the youth categories for Norway together. So they obviously know each other, at least to a certain extent. She also mentioned that she spoke to Elizabeth Terland as well, because she has been in the senior squad for Norway. So that's great. I do think she probably would have spoken to Melina as well, but I got the feeling that maybe they weren't mentioning Melina's name because they want to, something is going to get announced with that, either that she's coming back or that she's not coming back. But I kind of felt like they'd said, oh, maybe don't mention her, because why wouldn't you go to the player who literally plays for Brighton right now and say, what's Brighton like? You know, why would you phone Elizabeth Terland, who hasn't played for us for, you know, a season or two now? So I bet she has spoken to Melina, but I think maybe they said maybe keep that under the radar. But yeah, really good midfielder, quite tall, quite rangy, probably a little bit different to what we've got at the moment. In terms of ability, like I say, she's played for Norway, I think 3 times. A couple of those might have been friendlies. So she's on the fringes of that squad. But I do think, obviously, if she performs well in the WSL, that she's going to start making that squad. Obviously, you know, they have lots of talented players already, but if you're doing well in the WSL, then you're probably going to hear that call a little bit sooner than you would playing for Hammarby, you know, with all due respect to them. So Ben is going to not be shocked to hear me mention that I did mention her on the 11 players Brighton should sign, but admittedly she wasn't one of the 11. She was one of the honourable mentions. So I did have a few honourable mentions. But yeah, mainly because I looked at the Swedish league quite heavily, and I looked at Hammarby quite heavily, and they actually have 3 very good centre midfielders, and that's why when I looked at all of them, I went for Joramo, because the other 2 have not been there anywhere near as long. And I actually wonder now that if they knew her contract was ending in July or June, sorry, at the end of June, which is apparently the situation, which I find odd because obviously their season's still going on. But, you know, and actually Liberty, who I spoke to, who's a bit of an expert on these things, she said it's very odd for a contract to end in the middle of the season. But anywho. But yeah, I do now wonder whether the fact they had 3 good ones is because they bought an extra one in, or maybe even both of them in, because they knew Jorimo was probably going to move on, having been there for sort of 3 or 4 years now. So that would make sense. I think Hammarby do that really well. You know, they're kind of one of those clubs, and I think Brighton men do it, but I think Brighton women would almost like to go down that Hammarby model of, yes, we might lose our best 1 or 2 players, but we've already replaced them with another couple coming up, and they always seem to stay, you know, kind of near the top of the league, which is a really big achievement. So Ben, what was your sort of first reaction when you heard that we'd signed Amelia?
Well, I've been watching a bit of Hammarby this year, obviously, because they've got our little tiny little enormous goalkeeper down there. So, she's got a couple of goals this year. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a loan report because it's all a bit over and done with. But she scored last week in her last home game for Hammarby. And yeah, I mean, she's sort of combative, physical. You know, there's a little interview YouTube thing they did. I mean, she likes to have the ball. A lot of people say that, but you know, it's sort of, she's coming to a team that likes to have the ball, and she likes to have the ball, sort of stuff. And yeah, she's good at getting it back, and protecting it and that kind of stuff. And say knows where the goal is. She doesn't score many, but gets them, which is more than most of our players do sometimes. So yeah, I think she's as you say, she's 24, should be coming into a prime sort of thing, and not fringes of the Norway squad as such, but not quite a regular yet. But that's a very, very stacked squad, so it's kind of hard to kick your way into it sometimes. So the fact that she's anywhere near the Norway squad is quite a big deal. So yeah, I'm sort of excited. I think they've been obviously they're one of the big clubs in Sweden, full stop, but they've been very good the last few years. And despite the fact they've been asset stripped by everybody during every single transfer window, they still keep sort of producing these things. And that's a gap I think we've kind of had, because I think she's sort of a number 6-ish, which I think we've said. I don't know how the club and how she feels personally, but I think we've very certainly, haven't we, this last season, that Maisie should be further forward, because we like seeing Maisie get forward. And if she can slot in behind Maisie and allow Maisie to go forward, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. It may well sort of free her up. I don't know how defensive she is. I think this is probably slightly dependent on whether one of the other rumoured signings, which I think we may as well just go ahead and sort of talk about here, is one of the other players that we've been strongly rumoured to be signing is Leah Valti, obviously ex-Arsenal, current Juventus. I don't know how far along that is. There were some reports that were saying that she'd had the medical. It was just a case of agreeing the fee. And that all the personal stuff was done and everything. But then we've had these announcements come in ahead of that. So whether these announcements were already ahead of that, or whether there's the Valti situation is still taking time to sort out, and these have happened in the meantime, I'm not quite sure. But I do think if Valti comes in, she makes sense as the kind of number 6, probably. And then I don't know whether they maybe look at having 2 more central midfielders, or whether they stick with the kind of almost having a defensive midfielder, a centre midfielder, and an attacking midfielder, i.e. like with Chankovic, and Maisie. It's difficult to know. I mean, Dario, I think we got the sense from that interview, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants to see, but sometimes it takes us, we have to see them play a few times before we go, okay, that's what you want to use that player for, or okay, that's where they can move to or swap with certain player, or
I suppose the thing with Valti is that, I mean, she might well have had a medical, but they obviously there's still potentially negotiations going on.
Yeah.
She might be negotiating with several clubs. She's the Switzerland captain. She spent all that time at Arsenal, so she's going to be in demand. So she might have had sort of 5 or 6 medicals around the WSL and maybe a couple in Spain or whatever. And at the same time, we've been linked with other defensive midfielders like Abiera and Thingy in she Tenerife, isn't she? The other one, I've forgotten her name.
Yeah, Ramos.
So it might be that she's negotiating with several clubs, and we're negotiating with several sort of defensive central midfielders.
Yeah.
So it might come to naught. It might come. I think I'm sort of leaving my not my options, because they're not my options. I'm leaving my mind open on that one, not getting too excited about it. But at the same time, it's nice that it's that whole thing. When I suppose it was, I forget when it was, the first sign of things, but as soon as we became associated with Frank Kirby and things like that, it was like, oh, we're a club that's looking at Frank Kirby. So it's nice that we're a club that's negotiating with the likes of Leo Ulti. So that's optimistic, even if it's not specifically her that comes in.
Yeah, and I think if she comes in, she does fit that mold of the veteran presence.
Yeah.
I think if we were to sign her, to me that would be it. And I'm kind of in my head assuming Beth England's already there, which we don't know, but let's put 2 and 2 together and come up with 10.
Yeah.
I think if you've got Beth and Fran and someone like Leah Valti, I'm happy with that. I don't think we need to be going out and signing any more veteran experience or whatever. I'm happy with that, because you've got, touch wood, Caitlin's still here. She's very experienced too, and what we've done is really well. And I think this is where, certainly these 2 players, the other one, which we'll speak about in a minute, but with Joromo and Crazy Man, same. It sounds the same, however I say it. Is that they're both young, as in, like, I think Crazy Man's 22 and Joromo's 24, but they're both got some international experience. They've both played a lot of games. So we're trying to almost target these players, and that was the same with Manu. It was the same with Chia. Players who are young and have got years ahead of them, but are not like, oh, bright lights, big city, like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. It's like, no, they've been on these stages before. They've played in big games before. They've played in international games before. So it's not going to be that kind of, rabbit in the headlights type thing. But they've still, if they want to stay with the club and they're good enough, then they've got years and years ahead of them, multiple years ahead of them, which, we couldn't always say with some of the signings that we had to make to get us from A to B. Well, sometimes, you knew there was going to be an expiration date on that sort of thing. Claire, how did you feel, other than thank God we've actually signed someone when we signed Amelia?
To be fair, that was all I thought. I don't know anything about either of these players, and I wasn't anywhere where I had the time to investigate it. So I was away. So I was like, I'll leave that to Ben, because he'll obsess about it and go and find out all the info there is on them. And it's nice that the door has opened at last, and we've got a couple in, and we can now hopefully keep that momentum going of, maybe there'll be another one in a couple of days and so on. And hopefully we, like you say, we get a couple of bigger names. But I think that's always nice to have that sort of, have your club linked with bigger names is always, a good thing. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah.
And what do you think about signing someone like Valti? I mean, obviously she's older than Fran and Beth. She's 33, but a different player.
I think I said all last season, I think, the biggest thing we were missing was experience on the pitch. We don't have enough of it. But I do wonder if 33-year-old Valti might be a bit too much.
I know what you mean. Could be a Lasada situation.
You're going to sign the. Yeah.
I should mention that I think we should have some candles or something here, because we actually now have a 33-year-old Fran Kirby.
Oh, she's 33
true.
now.
Many happy returns of the day, Francesca. It is
yes, very happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
But we've
Fran.
also had Fran for 2 seasons now.
Yes,
So
yes,
you know what I mean? Like we've had some great times with Fran, and if she starts to now maybe not play every game, you're like, fair enough. But I think to sign a player like Valti, like, yes, she has some incredible experience and she's she's an incredible player. But at 33, is she going to play every game of the season? Possibly not. If she is going to play every game of the season, you've got to hope she doesn't get bloody injured. Because if she does, that's potentially end of career type injuries for a lot of players at that age. So, you know, it's a big risk, I think, to take a player that you're going to pay for as well. Yeah, there's a fee involved here. This isn't somebody on a freebie. So you're going to pay for her. You're going to pay her reasonably good wages, I would imagine, as well. And she's going to take your captain's space. So you're kind of thinking like, ooh, that's a lot going on there for one player. So I don't know. It's an interesting one because, like you say, they brought this Yorimo in as well. That's another number 6. That kind of suggests Maisie is moving from position or going. Like it's one or the other. There's not. You don't bring in 2 number 6s and still keep your captain playing as number 6. Like. So something's happening there that I think is much more interesting than whether or not Valti signs or not. But
yeah, well, and like we said, it's all this knock-on. It all has a knock-on effect. You know, it's not just we've got one more player. It has an impact on people's playing time and things like that. I think for me, the slight difference with Valti compared to Fran and probably Beth, maybe even Beth a little bit less, is Fran used to rely sometimes on her speed and her short bursts and stuff, and she doesn't really have that anymore, which is why she doesn't play for Chelsea still.
Yeah,
if she did, she'd still play for Chelsea, you know, as the long-standing quote says, if Pascal Gross had speed, he wouldn't play for Brighton. So it's kind of it's chicken and egg situation almost. I think with Valti, because she is that sort of sitting midfielder, I think she probably has got a little bit more longevity in that I don't think she's fallen, because she only left Arsenal at the end of the season before last. So she's only been a year in Italy, but she wants to come back, basically. She wants to come back to England. She wants to play in the WSL. And I think a bit like Ben said with Fran Kirby, and I think we all sort of thought the same thing. Brighton might be the best team that are willing to say, we'll take you on for a couple of years because we still think you can. I don't like, obviously Arsenal aren't going to sign her back. You know, again, like a Man United, they're going to be like, well, it's short-term gain, but we're going to have her on the books and we've got other players that were coming through that she's going to stand in the way of. Whereas, like, we're probably still in that situation where we're going, yeah, you might get in someone's way, but equally, you'd probably be one of our you'd make our midfield probably a little bit stronger. So it's weighing up that, you know, but it is interesting that we seem to have gone after so many central midfielders. And I agree, it's slightly concerning with, Maisie, whether Maisie's staying or going or hopefully just moving position. I think obviously it doesn't probably bode well for someone like Nadine, because even if she stays, she's going to be down the pecking order, even just with Jorimo coming in.
Yeah, because if Maisie moves further up the field, well, then that's Nadine's spot, isn't it, potentially? You know, so like you say, it is, there's going to be movement somewhere. You're not going to bring all these players in and just flood your squad with midfielders. It's
I think the only thing I would say with someone like Valti is she'd be excellent depth. Like if you could play her the majority, well, not the majority of the time, but if you could play her occasionally and you could bring her off the bench, I think that would be great, because we're looking at other teams and going, oh, they can bring someone off the bench who can actually have an impact on a game.
Yeah.
And obviously, Valti's not a striker, so she's not necessarily going to bang in 5 goals. But if you need someone to basically come on, a bit like Brighton did with James Milner a few times, to come on and basically go,
steady
come on,
the
everyone,
ship.
chill out, like, you know, chill out.
Steadying the ship, isn't it?
Yeah. because we've had problems closing out games, and we've had these mad 10 minutes and stuff going back sort of 3-4 seasons. A bit less this season, because I think we really improved our defence, and I think our defence is probably one of the strongest parts of our team, certainly at centre back. So, you know, having to be able to call on a player like that as a sub, and I think the same with Beth. I'd like her to play a lot of games. Do I think she's probably going to start the majority of them? I'd like to think we're getting someone so she hasn't got to. But again, you're thinking, oh God, we're 1-0 down. There's like 20 minutes left. We can bring on someone like Beth England instead of having to be like, you know, in the nicest possible way. We'd maybe like bring on Nadine. And in the Liverpool game, it worked. It worked fantastically well. She obviously came on a lot. I think she came on a little bit later in that game. But, I think that's probably where we lacked a few times to get those points to push us up further.
Yeah, 100%.
Certainly to get us above Tottenham was we couldn't make enough of a change to really make the opposition go, oh, we've got to watch out now.
Yeah.
Because so-and-so is coming on, or, whatever. So I think that would be welcome. But again, they know what they're doing. They know the wage structure, everything like that. So it's all a calculated risk at the end of the day. So in theory, if we do sign her, you would like to think that it's the right deal for the Albion, as well as her, because we don't owe anyone a wage at the end of the day. So it's cutthroat though that may be, you can't sort of say, oh, well, you were good X amount of years ago, so we'll pay you like a top player. But yeah, so let's talk about our final signing so far, because the weeks are young, the transfer window is young, and that came today, fresh off the press today. So we have one on Friday, one on Monday. So I think you're right, Claire. Wednesday, maybe. Friday.
It's Wednesday or Friday, isn't it? Maybe it's going to be a Friday Monday thing. Who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Bookend the weekend. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. So that is it not Nadia? Nadia. It sounds like it sounds like Crazy Man, but it's Krez. So Crazy Man. And she's Polish. And unusually for a Polish name, it's said like it's spelled. Because I know quite a few Polish people, and they have these really impressive surnames, but they do not look like they are said.
Yeah.
But we found one, so that's great. I suppose there was Eva Pyle. That's a nice, easy one as well. But
Paget though, isn't it?
Yes, probably.
Pager.
Yeah. But yeah, Claire, I know you said you haven't sort of heard anything about these players, but a second signing in 3 days, it seems a positive move, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was literally just sat in my seat on the aeroplane to come home when I thought, let me just check my my WhatsApp messages, and you lot were going nuts. And I was like, what's happened here? And then it was I've got to turn my Wi-Fi off. So that was fun. So I had no idea really until I got back. And then I've been, like I said, I've been driving all day. So I haven't really, I've seen what's on Instagram kind of as I flicked through, and I've seen, a couple of things on TikTok, but haven't really had a chance to look up anything other than she is Polish, she's 22, and she's a forward. I don't know what that means anymore, because you used to be a striker, and you used to be a winger, and now you're just a forward. So I don't know where she lands in that area. I'm reading the comments, and Tim's sort of saying left foot, right foot. She could be either. So I don't know. I'm just going to turn up in September and cheer whoever's there on.
I mean, that's absolutely fair, and it's just us nerds who like to obsess about the
and that's fine. I like that you two can nerd out over it, and I don't have to.
I mean, obviously, because of working for the Brighton sort of side of things for Football Manager, I have access to Y Scout. So I can look up things like heat maps and stuff of the full season. So and it also lists like where they played each game. I mean, it's probably not 100% foolproof, but it's near as damn it. So she's effectively a left winger. She could play as a left midfielder. She could probably play as like a left forward, but she really likes to sort of come in off the left wing. She has occasionally played on the right, but that's not where she plays the majority of her football. It's using her left foot to get crosses in and stuff. So she's never scored more than 5 goals in a season. So I don't see she's not.
Striker, then.
I can't see her as a striker. No. She scored. One good thing I would say is she did score those 5 goals last season. So her best goal scoring season, actually her joint best. But she previously scored 5 about 4 or 5 years ago in Poland. So obviously, different level of football, but she did score 5 goals and get 5 assists. So 10 goal involvements last season in 21 games. 19 started, I think. So that's, if you take just the game she started, she had a goal involvement every other game, which is pretty good. And you always like to think if you get a good player from a team that's not great, but you put them in your good team or your great team, they're going to flourish even more. So I think that would be the hope with her. Ben, what were your thoughts on the crazy man?
Yeah, the crazy man. Again, I watched some because she's obviously got some caps for Poland. So only 22, but she sort of seems to be quite a regular starter now for Poland. So obviously she'll be familiar to Caitlin Hayes because she played actually only once against Ireland because she was suspended for the first game because she was sent off against France for 2 bookals. So she's quite good at kicking Grace Gayoro as well, which will come in handy when we play London City. But yeah, I and obviously the Polish commentator's calling it a crazy man because he's saying it in a Polish accent. So I'm already favourite player. She's from Poznan, so I don't know if we're going to have to turn around when she scores.
Might be worth a try. Now we're all in the same stand.
Yeah, and obviously moving on the puntastic stuff. I mean, she's been playing for Dijon for the last couple of years, so will she cut the mustard? Obviously did cut the mustard at Dijon. And yeah, I think like you say, someone who scores / assists that many things when they're playing for like a mid-table side. I don't know that all her goals were against Lyon or PSG, but when you're in a mid-table side and you're making that sort of goal contribution, that's it's like, oh, she scored 5 goals this season. She was the striker at Lyon. So, she's probably not that good then, is she?
Yeah,
she was the Lyon striker, only scored 5. But she's, a forward at Dijon and scoring 5. You think, oh, yeah, good. And she does look good, I think one thing, obviously that they are very young players we're bringing in. I think that there's a kind of enthusiasm that you see in the way she plays and stuff that I think does look really, really quite refreshing and quite exciting and stuff. So, I'm just really looking forward to seeing some crazy antics from Crazy Man.
From the Crazy Man, yeah. We've got to find some. There must be a good chant that's got the word "man."
Well, there's lots of songs out there with crazy.
Absolutely, got to be, isn't it?
Have we got Niles Barkley?
Yeah.
You think I'm crazy?
You just got to find a way to get man in there.
Work that out.
Yeah.
Seal. What's his name?
Well, look, there's a job for the kids, and it's get some songs up with the new players now.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
I
the only thing I can think of off the top of my head that rhymes with Joramo is Kokomo. But I'm not sure.
Yorimo, she's Euro. Yora is a nickname.
Yora.
Yora.
Maybe don't finish that sentence.
Yeah.
I wouldn't finish that one.
But I mean, really good. Like these feel like Brighton signings. These feels like the signings we should be making. We're getting younger, but we're not going for like absolute flyers from no one's ever heard. We're going to like well-known leagues, getting good young players, but good young players with experience. And I think that's really key. I think that kind of brings us on to probably another sort of new signing. It's not a new signing for the summer, but it was a new signing in the winter. And obviously she went out on loan, and that's Olivia Garcia. We don't 100% know the reasoning behind why she went out on loan. I know some people have spoken about whether it was maybe a visa thing or they just wanted her to get some experience, and they kind of already had a loan lined up where she was actually going to play. Because apparently the Swedish clubs they seem to be the go-to for loans now because they actually play the WSL youngsters, which is interesting. But yeah, she's obviously coming back. It's been announced. AIK, thank you and goodbye. She said thank you and goodbye. Loved it there. Fantastic. She, I think, finished joint top scorer at the moment in the Damallsvenskan. So, and I said this to the guys before, she's exactly the sort of player who, if she wasn't already playing for Brighton, I'd be like, this would be a good signing for Brighton, because she's a good player scoring goals for a team that are good, but not they're not like blowing people out the water. They're not Hammarby or they're not up there with those, but they're next one down, next level down, maybe.
Well, I mean, there's like 4 teams in Stockholm, and they're probably the 3rd one.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously Hammarby, the biggies. Obviously, Häcken are over in Gothenburg. Hammarby are Stockholm, Häcken and Gothenburg, and those are the 2 big Swedish cities. But below Hammarby, you've got Djurgården, and you've got ARK, and there's something, I can't remember who the other one is, but they're not the fashionable big clubs anyway. And the fact that, again, I mean, she's joint top scorer in the Swedish league, playing for the less fashionable Stockholm club, equal with Felicia Schroeder, who's playing for the top club, who's just become probably the most expensive player in the world, signing for Real Madrid. I think we got in there just in time with Olivia Garcia, I think.
Absolutely.
So, and actually, to add a bit of context to the goal scoring as well, that Felicia Schroeder's goals, they both got 7 goals, but 3 of Felicia Schroeder's were penalties. None of OJ's were. Most of them were worldies from the left foot top corner, but she's right-footed, I think. Again, it's hard to say. So, that's the one.
Thank
you, Charlie.
We can't. We're not attempting to say it.
So
need my glasses for that.
I think the fact. I mean, it's not like she's not the only goal scorer. I have been smacking them in a lot of
I don't know.
I think a lot of that has to do with her as well, because she's she's always making trouble in the box and things like that. And that's just quite a nice bit of symmetry, because again, I don't think I'll bother with a full-on loan report, but there was a big loan report event last week when Hammarby hosted AIK in one of the big Stockholm derbies, and I sort of thought, well, I'm a bit more invested in Hammarby, because I've obviously been watching our kid in goal all season and stuff like that, and things, but and I don't really want her to concede. But if she does concede, I want Olivia Garcia to score.
Yeah. That's the only way.
It was 4-1. Hammarby won 4-1, and the one for AIK was scored by Olivia Garcia. And again, I mean, Melina had absolutely no chance, because it was right-hand corner of the box, top left-hand corner, with again her left foot, which I think it's hard to say. I think she's right-footed, but she scores so many bangers with her left. She's basically whatever the foot equivalent of ambidextrous is. And again, the symmetry, obviously, in her last home game for Hammarby, the 4th goal was scored by Emilia Joromo. So it's a lovely little family occasion there. But yeah, and again, as you say, on all I'm reading so many things written by sort of Swedish media people, the clubs, all this sort of stuff, fans and stuff, that she's been an absolute joy there. And obviously she's been smacking the goals in, but she's been an absolutely infectious personality that I hope she's going to bring that with her when she comes here, and it's going to be quite exciting watching her play next year.
Yeah, so Charlie said it seems like we've got millions of players who can score. I don't like it. It's not the Brighton way.
Well, no, exactly.
I think that's spot on. I think the difficulty I have is the guaranteed goals, and I think that's why we need at least Beth England, but I would say someone else as well. I think Olivia Garcia is. I think sky's the limit with her, to be honest with you, from what I've seen. My concern is that we need her to score like 10 or 15 goals, because she's our our big hope for the season, and I don't like that because A, I don't think it's fair on her. B, like, you know, you're getting one season to adjust to probably the best, I would argue, the best league in the world.
Yeah,
it's close with the NWSL, but one or the other. And she's been playing. She's made the step up very, very nicely from Danish football to Swedish football. But we've even seen some of the really good players from Sweden find the step up to WSL quite difficult. And that's not a comment on Olivia at all. It's just that I still feel like we need someone who's definitely going to get us like 6 or 7.
Yeah,
because then it just takes the pressure off.
I just want a Bunny Shaw. So if you don't mind, please, 10, 15 goals a season, I would like.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Why would you not buy a striker with that expectation?
Yeah.
Like that's your job. Your job is to score goals, you know.
Yeah, and I think if our strike force is Beth England, Olivia Garcia, Carla Camacho, and like a, you know, you go out and you actually splash some cash and get someone who's got a proven goal scoring record, that to me would be perfect, because you've got 2 younger players. I think one's probably a little bit further on the path. I think Olivia's probably a bit further on the path than Carla, but you'd have your kind of your veteran, you'd have your prime, you'd have your coming into their prime, and you'd have your prospect. And you've got all the levels, and you can all learn from each other, and you've got the youthful ones keeping the older ones going, and so on and so forth. I think that would be absolutely perfect. But I do think that we would need at least Beth England, because I just don't like I wouldn't like to think that we need Olivia to score 15 goals, otherwise we're in trouble, because that was what happened with Michelle, and it didn't work. Because as we all know, you know, sometimes you know, maybe they're like Michelle the previous season, where they're more of a sub and they only get 2 or 3 goals or whatever, and then you play her, you know, in a game, and in you know, she goes away to play for her country or whatever. In our case, it could just be a Subway Cup game. They tear their ACL, and then that's your big hope for the season, you know, down the drain. So I wouldn't want to make that same mistake again. And I don't think Brighton will want to make that same mistake again of like, oh, we're one injury away from essentially going, oh, we're 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
Like, well, because that's what it was, you know.
Yeah. But also another thing to remember is we still have Maddie.
Yeah.
You know, we still have her. We've still got Kiko.
Yeah.
You know, these are potentially players that they could be strikers. You could potentially move them across and say, go on and have at it. But yeah, I just think like, yeah, for me, anytime you buy a striker, unless you're buying a youngster for 2-3 years in advance, you know, you're buying that player to come in and score you 10 to 15 goals. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah. I think as you say, I think it would be unfair to put too much pressure on OG. And I think, and again, I think, you know, it's a different style. I think she's not, I mean, she has, you know, again, I mean, she's sort of scraped the top of the bar against Hammerby as well with a header. So, I mean, she got to ask her about that headband when she does arrive, but she can win headers, even though she's not huge. She's 5'7", so she's about the same size as Carla, I think. So she's not a small player, but she's not a big sort of Bunny Shaw player. So I think maybe she's still not the number 9. You know, size. But I think, you know, she causes enough chaos to get quite a lot of goals. But I don't think I'd want to put the pressure on her to say, you know, help us Obi-Wan, your only hope, sort of thing.
I don't know. I would like to think that players put that pressure on themselves. That's their job. Certainly. You know, she's gone to the Swedish game, and like you say, she's finished the season joint top scorer. Surely she's going to think like, yeah, I want to come back to Brighton now, force my way into that squad, and be the top scorer at the end of that season as well. Like that's a short as a striker. That's your like basic hope for the season.
Yeah,
you know, so.
Yeah, I think the thing is with Olivia is she's still not. She's still young herself. Like she's still young in the game herself. And I think it would have been the same if we just put Carla in at the end of the season. It wouldn't. It just wouldn't have been fair. Like because it would have been, she hasn't scored for 2 games, so she's not that good.
Yeah.
And I think Olivia is still, she's been in Sweden for 6 months. She's done really well there, but she's not like, they didn't play Arsenal when she scored a hat trick or anything. Like, so I think we have to temper our expectations. And that's what I mean. I think she can get there, and it would be lovely if she turned up and just started banging them in right, left and centre. Don't get me wrong. But she's not quite at the point in her career where I'd want to be relying on that. Like, she's not. She was.
No, I don't want to be relying on it. I think we need to have a Beth England.
Well, and that's what I mean.
We definitely need a Beth England. But I think for her as a player herself,
she'll want to score goals.
She's going to be looking at it, going, "I'm coming there to be top scorer."
Yeah, definitely. And I think every player would back themselves. Like, I'm sure if you ask Carla if she'd have played the last 4 or 5 games as a striker, would you have scored some goals? She would say, "Yeah, absolutely, of course I would." So I just think it's getting that mixture. It's getting that combination right.
It's what Dario was saying, was what everybody says as well, is that you have sort of 2, 3, 4 players all vying for that one position. Then they're putting pressure on each other.
Yeah.
And they're all sort of improving each other because they're constantly looking over each other's shoulders.
Yeah, and this I think, especially with the Yorimo situation, because we do have quite a few midfielders and we're rumoured to be interested in at least 1 more, if not 2 more. I think that really is them saying, look, you might think our midfield is okay, or good even, but we want more than that. We want a midfield that's like up there with the best in the league. And ultimately that's going to mean that, some players are not going to play very often, or, they will be a backup, or it will be an injury that means they get more time or whatever. So I think with the forwards, it's a little bit more difficult to judge at the moment, because I do think obviously we needed more forwards, and I don't think we're done signing forwards either. So when all the dust has settled and the transfer window ends, we can go, oh, okay, well, we've ended up with 2 left wingers, 2 right wingers, and 2 strikers or whatever, or 3 strikers, or but it's all a bit pie in the sky until we know who's coming in and all that sort of thing. Like I said, obviously with Crazy Man, she plays a very, very similar position to Ollie. So what happens with Ollie? Do they move her somewhere else, or is it the situation of, well, who's done best in training this week? Well, who scored last time they played?
Yeah,
Ollie, you scored last time you played. You're getting the next game, but if performance dips, Crazy Man's right behind you. She's going to go nuts. So, and to be honest with you, if that is the situation, I'm not against that. If that gets us up the table, if that's what we need, is to have a player in every position with someone exactly like you said, I think, breathing down their neck. If we were to get someone on the right hand side, I really like Lauren Davidson from Bran, basically because she's just a bit like Ollie to a certain extent. She just has completed the Norwegian league. She's got like a goal at virtually like every game and assists out the wazoo, and she just looks way too good to be there. But if we went after someone like that, then you'd have Kiko and her, and it would really be what have you done for me lately type thing. So and if we can do that and we can get those quality players in, then I think it's possible, and I think that would seriously drive us up the league, and it would make a few of those top 4 clubs start to go, oh God, like if so and so doesn't play, they've got so and so behind them, whereas at the moment they're like, oh, so and so is not playing very well at the moment.
I think that was what was noticeable in the FA Cup final, wasn't it? When Man City was struggling,
they brought on
Miedemar for, and brought on, I can't remember who else they brought on now, but they brought on first team players.
And players who probably still would have won the game for them, even if they'd have started.
And so I think it will be interesting. I'm excited. I'm always excited. I'm always the optimist, aren't I? So I need some 4-0. So can we have some goal scorer, please?
Definitely.
You're making me look silly now, Zoe. Come on.
Yeah.
We've got a good jingle.
So I think Ben touched on it a little bit. We talked a little bit about Melina. So I think we'll just have a quick chat about the goalkeeper situation. Ben, I'll start with you. I think it doesn't sound like Chia's going anywhere. I feel like there might have been some rumours or whatever abound if she was, but you never know. But let's just assume for a moment that Chia is staying. What would you do with the sort of rest of the goalkeeper situation?
I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because selfishly in your squad, you want as many top flight goalkeepers as possible. So if one falls over, then you've got another one. I think Melina as a backup to Chia would be amazing. But I look at Melina and think she doesn't want to be a backup to Chia. So I don't know. Again, it's that thing. I mean, the fact that she went out on loan. I forget when it was now. It was in the summer. It was the end of the summer. She went out on loan to Hammarby, and then she came back for Christmas. And then I don't know if it just basically they made it clear that she probably wasn't going to get that many minutes or whatever, but she actually asked if she could go back. And she's basically started pretty much every game. And I think she loves it. And I think that's the problem we've got. I mean, we've lost Baggers now, but we have got Hannah Poulter, who supposedly is this amazing goalkeeping prodigy that we sort of snapped up all those years ago on a massive long contract. And I think you were saying earlier, it's about time she stepped up into the sort of at least to be on the bench, as it were. So I think if she's good enough, then she should be stepping up to sort of take her place, and if she's not, then why have we got her, kind of thing. And obviously again we come up against the homegrown thing. Melina's German, Hannah's English, so I don't know. I mean selfishly I'd like to get Melina back because I think she's a fantastic goalkeeper. I think she's lovely as well, but my sort of heart thinks that actually she really likes it there, and it's kind of noticeable that Olivia Garcia's had so many. I mean, she did this sort of post saying thanks everybody, and had this sort of emotional goodbye to the fans and stuff. And the club have written all these wonderful things about her and stuff. And again, there's been sort of some media things about what an amazing effect she's had on the league and AIK and that sort of thing. There's been nothing from Melina or Hammarby. And they've got a sort of summer break, sort of equivalent of our winter break, I suppose. Their last games were sort of in the end of June, and their next games are the end of July. So they've got like a month off. So you'd expect that if she was coming back, something would have been said by them, so long and thanks for all the fish kind of thing. And nothing's come out. So which makes me wonder if a deal has not been done. I did wonder when we signed Amelia that had we done a swap, but actually Amelia was out of contract, so no. But yeah, I think it does sort of make me wonder. I mean, obviously we'd want some money, wouldn't we? I don't know how much they'd want to pay. I think a lot of the big Swedish clubs have got quite a lot in the bank these days because people keep coming in and paying for their amazing players. So yeah, I think selfishly I'd want to get her back. I think she doesn't want to sit on the bench, and I think she absolutely loves playing in Sweden. That's where she was when we found her. So unless the other alternative is whether a German club snaps her up, because obviously she came through the academy at Wolfsburg. They've had a bit of a shuffle around. I think they might have lost at least one of their goalkeepers. Maybe they're looking at her. Maybe there's a lot of good clubs in the Bundesliga that might be interested in her. So I don't know. But yeah, I hope we're holding Chia.
Yeah. I can't see that changing unless it's a mega bid.
Yeah.
Like I know she didn't cover herself in glory in the cup final to a certain extent, but it's all a learning experience at the end of the day. And exactly. That's what I mean. I don't think there has ever been a goalkeeper that's been perfect, and there never will be. So I think the interesting thing is I was just looking up while you were talking there. Apparently, Melina's loan contract ends tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we should probably hear some news. The only thing I would say is if she's not staying at Hammarby, is I would be surprised that they haven't done what you like you said with OG. They said buy and stuff. If we'd agreed to sell her to like a Wolfsburg, I still think Hammarby would have done a goodbye. Yeah. And then we would have then announced, oh, we've sold her to so and so. So I think the most likely situation is she's going to stay at Hammarby. Whether that's on some sort of, whether it's a permanent deal or whether they do some sort of deal to make the loan extend to the end of her contract or something by paying some sort of loan fee or something, that maybe that could work as well. But yeah, it doesn't the evidence so far makes it look like she's not going anywhere. So given the fact that it's public knowledge that her loan agreement ends tomorrow, I would have thought Brighton or Hammarby probably or simultaneously will need to say something in the next couple of days, because otherwise she should be coming back here.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Last summer. Hang on. No, I'm thinking of Libby, aren't I? Because Libby came back from wherever she was, Bristol City, spent the summer with the team, and then at the end of the end of the summer, having been to Spain with the team and all that sort of stuff, went off to Birmingham at the end of the transfer window. So whether they'd bring her back for the summer again, but then she'd miss.
But I still think in that case, Hammarby would be saying thanks, bye. Yeah. Like we've done with Rosa. We've done that with Rosa.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest clue, really, is the fact that they haven't said bye. They haven't said thanks for everything you've done and all the wonderful shots you saved and blah, blah, blah. They haven't. And that kind of suggests that maybe that's because she's not leaving. And, again, it's the same with like Baggers, isn't it? It's that thing of you've got a really good goalkeeper there who's just spent an entire season being a number one and enjoying it and, being potentially winning things. And why would she want to come back and sit on the bench and be number two to a player as good as Chia? You're really not going to knock her off her spot. You're hoping that she gets injured, and that's a horrible position to be in.
Yeah.
Whereas a Hannah is a pretty good prospect who probably would be quite happy to sit as a number two and learn her craft from a player like Chia.
Well, that's a promotion from being number three, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a progression in her career. So she's not going to say, no, thanks, I'm going. So I think, and she's English. So that's one of your homegrown sorted. So, and Brighton, whether it's men's team or women, I think they like the idea that they've got somebody in contract that they can flog and get a few quid for.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, certainly the women's team have been sick of letting all their best players go for free.
Yeah.
Most of them have ended up at bloody Man United, to be fair.
I think noticeably, as well as not having said goodbye to Melina, Hammarby did have a goodbye and thank you to Amelia. So so that is something they do.
You think it would have almost been simultaneous, wouldn't you? Yeah. They're both going to Brighton.
On their way. See you later. Bye. Yeah,
I think it all depends on what they make of Hannah and what they think of Hannah. I think if they really want her to potentially be a Brighton player long term, she needs to at least be like the cup goalkeeper this season. If not, she's another player who I think let her go to another club and prove herself then. Don't do with her what you've done with Libby and farm her out, or keep her around and never play her.
They farmed her out last season. Season 4, went to
for
Portsmouth.
6 months, went to Portsmouth. But then this year they obviously, I don't know whether it's because of the quota of homegrown players or whatever, or whether they just decided it would be better for her to spend the time training with Baggers and Chia. Maybe, I'm not quite sure exactly what the thinking was, but there comes a point when you have to either, for want of a better phrase, you have to shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
If you think she's that good or could be that good, you need to give her opportunities to prove it. And at the moment, the only way she's going to get to prove it is to be number two and for them to use her in the Subway Cup.
Yeah.
If you don't think she's going to cut the mustard, then you need to just say, okay, go to you know I don't know, a Bristol City or Sunderland or whatever, you know, and then if you come really good there, you know, then we might say hello again at some point. We might not, but you know, at least give her the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
I think what if in an ideal world for me would be if we could get a third choice keeper who is happy to kind of be in and around a squad. I don't want to say Katie Startup necessarily, but a player like that. You know, you've got like Everton got rid of like Emily Ramsey. Would she be the worst third goalkeeper ever? No, she says okay. Like if you explain to them and you could get someone half decent where you're like, look, Chia's our main keeper. We're going to give Hannah a go in the cups, but you're always going to be basically the backup to the backup. You know, but we'll give you you get your weight, because there's a minimum wage now in the WSL as well. So that, you know, everyone will make the minimum WSL wage. And I'm sure there are players who play in the first team who are probably still on the minimum wage, to be quite frank. So Silvana is a good point, Charlie. Obviously, we've got Silvana, Marshall, Miranda, but she would not need to be registered. So she could be the third keeper. And we would only have to register 2 keepers. That's possible, but I don't necessarily like that on the basis of you've got 2 very unproven backups, very unproven. And Silvana, to a certain extent, she suffers a bit from the Baggers situation where she's not the tallest. And I'm sort of hoping she might have another little bit of another couple of inches, you know, to grow. But yeah, I would still I'd want a veteran presence, because if what you're effectively saying is if Chia gets injured, our main goalkeeper becomes Hannah and the backup to Hannah is Silvana, that concerns me. That concerns me. So I think we do need another veteran keeper in and around the place, but obviously it's got to be someone who is going to acknowledge the fact that they're going to be the backup to the backup, you know. But ultimately, you know, there are some players who are basically, you know, every season who essentially get cut from a team and then will never appear in the WSL or a bench or a squad again. That's just the realities of the game. So if you can get someone who, you know, was going to drop down to the WSL too, but would rather stick around a WSL team, but be third choice rather than second choice at a WSL2 team, I expect there are players like that who would be willing to do that, and also might back themselves to go, okay, all right, Hannah's your number 2 for now. You know, maybe I can get that number 2 if I prove, you know, if I turn up in training and I'm regularly better than that person, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I think that would be my ideal situation, would be give Hannah an opportunity as number 2, play her in the cups, make a judgment based on this year as to what you do with her going forward, and you try and sign that sort of third keeper, you know, who can do a job for you.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking about anyone who's going to pull up any trees, but who can step in and do a job if needed. So, but yeah, I agree with you, both of you, exactly about Melina. She doesn't deserve to be a backup. She's too good to be a backup, but she's not Chia.
Yeah.
So what else can you do?
Yeah,
really?
I just think at this point, like if she was the player we were buying to come in as a backup player, you'd be like, oh, great. Yeah, she's a really good number 2.
Yeah.
But the fact that we've already had her for 2 seasons now, I think it is. And, you know, I mean, you know, last season it was a good old battle with Baggers for the number 1 spot. I don't see that being the case now. I think Chia's number 1. End of.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Yeah. And I don't think we would have signed Chia if we'd told her any different.
No.
If we'd have told her you're coming in to compete for the job, I don't think she would have signed.
No.
She would have had plenty of offers where they would have told her, no, you're the number 1. So, yeah, I think that's right. And I think it would be beneficial almost to all parties if we could get a fee of some kind. I don't think we'd want anything crazy. I think she's probably, even though she signed an extension, it wasn't for like 2-3 years. It was like a year on top of, I think she had 6 months left. So she's not got years and years left on her contract. You know, so let her go. She'll be happy. We'll get some money. We can probably use it to buy that sort of, or bring in a veteran. You know, like I say, there's plenty being cut off teams right now. Who would like to stay in the league and get another opportunity somehow, some way.
Yeah.
So
Katie Startup's out of contract now. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it was Katie Startup, I wouldn't hate that.
No. I'm going backwards all the time, you two.
Yeah.
Like, they've gone.
No.
They've gone.
Well,
I think in any case, I think a third choice goalkeeper basically is the goalkeeper that's sitting on the bench in League Cup games.
Yeah.
So you basically need a training goalkeeper, which again, that's where Silvana would come in as a sort of young up and coming player, that kind of thing. Or, I mean, Katie Startup, basically that's what she's done for a living for the last 5 years. So, I don't think, every single sort of match day she's putting her gloves on, going, they're both going to get injured this week. They're both going to get injured, that sort of thing. And she'd get the odd League Cup game here and there, but she was, she always seemed really happy. But because basically spending the time playing football with your mates, so what's not to like.
Yeah. Well, that's almost the attitude you have to have, isn't it?
And again, that's what the men in the men's game. That's what Jason Steele is doing at the World Cup. He's there as a training goalkeeper because they maybe it's because they want 4 at the same time or something like that. But so he's in there. He knows he's not going to play, but he's there basically as a training player kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I think sometimes that's kind of what you need in a third goalkeeper. Really, is just someone that if you really had to, if push came to shove, you could put them in and they could do a job. But basically, they're quite happy just to train with their mates all week and then warm them up on a Sunday morning kind of thing.
The other thing with goalkeepers, of course, is that you can get them on emergency loan if you do have multiple injuries, whereas you can't do that with any other position. So if you are going through 3 or 4 goalkeepers and you can apply for an emergency loan. Whereas if you only have one striker and they get injured, you can't ask for another striker. So it's kind of a unique position in that sense. So I don't know quite what the criteria is, but Charlie suggested maybe Joe Davis, WSL fan.
Joe would give it a go. Let's face it.
Joe would give it a blooming good go.
She would be in there.
She'd have bravery would be 20 out of 20, wouldn't it?
I think Joe brings her boots and gloves to every game. I think she's there. She's ready.
Yeah,
just in case. You never know.
She's John Gordon Sinclair having a dream. That's anyone old enough to remember the 1978 World Cup. Oh yeah.
There you go.
Joe, no, sorry, it was 82, wasn't it? There you go. So it wasn't quite as long ago.
Joe, keep bringing those boots. Keep bringing those gloves. Who knows? Who knows? They'll put out a call like, is there a doctor in the house? Is there a goalkeeper in the house?
Yeah.
Yes, there is. She's always in the house. So I think we've got the main points cleared up, I think, haven't we, for the most part? I've ticked off all my little notes, so that should be all right. A couple of other things I just wanted to mention is SheGulls over Sussex are hosting a quiz event at the Crossbar on the 6th of August, I believe it is, Thursday, the 6th of August. So if you're interested in going to that, then do go to their website. I think it's just SheGulls over Sussex. I think it's .co.uk, and keep up to date with things there. Hopefully, SheGulls will be putting a team together because there's some good prizes on offer, and I feel like my fortune with quizzes and prizes and things like that is normally quite good. So I'm happy to team up and with anyone else who wants to get some of that juju. But yeah, should be good. It's all in aid of the foundation and everything. So come along, support the foundation, maybe win something cool piece of memorabilia, and just have a bit of fun and support Crossbar as well. We are in negotiations currently with Crossbar to have a live podcast at some point. We do need to hammer out some of the details of when and what day and everything like that. But in theory, it is possible. We do have the equipment now. Thank you very much, Tim, with a lovely donation, which has helped us to secure that equipment. So yeah, as soon as we get news on that, we'll let you know, because we'd love to have a few of you there to ask questions in person, give it a bit of atmosphere. Not too many heckles, please, especially Charlie picking up on all the things I've forgotten or can't remember or, whatever it may be. But yeah, get down there, support the foundation and support SheGulls over Sussex. Just while we are on sort of separate subjects, I'll also mention it was the 125th anniversary of the inauguration, whatever you want to call it, the creation of Brighton and Hove Albion last week. So the supporters clubs got invited to a nice celebration at the Seven Stars. Yeah. There was an unveiling of a blue plaque, and I found out something about blue plaques, which is quite interesting, which is if they're circular, they're for a person, and if they're square, they're for like an event. Yes, which is, I didn't know that until now. So, it's if I take away anything from the event, it would be that there were lovely vol-au-vents and square plaques, not circles.
Fantastic vol-au-vents. That's
fantastic.
I'm gutted I missed it now.
I know. Oh, it were lovely. It were lovely.
Love a vol-au-vent.
I had a few. Was
it a little eggy vol-au-vent?
Oh well, now you're getting into
the posh ones.
We had the fish and chips, which is a classic. The little mini fish and chips.
Yeah.
So it was one chip with a little mini fish goujon on top.
Little fish goujon, posh.
That was lovely.
You eat fish?
I'm okay with white fish, like cod or
whatever. Racism. That's
exactly. Yellow fish, no. Pink fish, no. That was nice. There was quail's eggs, Scotch eggs. They were very nice. Runny in the middle.
This is just the normal menu at the Seven Stars, isn't it?
I know it probably is, yeah. But if it is, I'm going back there. The only thing with that finger food, and I've had this a few times when I've been lucky enough to go to these type of things, is what you really want to say is, could you just bring a plate of those just for me?
Yes.
One chip and one bit of fish is lovely, but if you could make like 25 chips.
I did try bribing some of the staff at the terrace once when they were handing out free food, but they weren't having it. And they had some lovely little bits.
You got to try and persuade them to go where they know their bread's buttered, where they're going to get all their food taken. So there was something else that was there was a nice sausage roll, but it was made of chicken. That was good. The vegan sausage rolls didn't go down quite so well. But
that's because they're not sausage. Therefore, they're not a sausage roll.
I didn't have one, but one of our party did, and she was not a fan. Not a fan. But we did get a lovely cupcake with a 125 thing on the top.
You do love a cupcake.
I love a cupcake, yeah. And I did get a nice little pin badge with BHA 125 on it. So really lovely little event. It was obviously great to be invited. Obviously I'm very, very, very involved with the women's team, but I grew up a men's team supporter and was a season ticket holder. So, and I must admit, some of you might know that my dad passed away earlier this year, and he was a big Albion fan, and that was one of the first times where it really sort of hit me that he wasn't there to talk to about it. So it was emotional. Like I didn't get no tears came out or anything.
It wasn't emotional.
It was just a really nice thing. Like it was a really cool thing to be at. So it was, if anyone from the club is listening, thank you very much for the invite. And we're always very privileged that we get to do these things. And because there are lots of people who don't. So, we don't take it for granted or anything. So, it was really cool.
Yeah.
And lovely people. Fantastic.
Well,
anything else?
Obviously, if there are any more events with some vol-au-vents, I'm your girl.
Yes, and if you can extend the guest amount radius out slightly, that would be even better.
We'd like to take some more people with us.
From individuals to +1s to, if we can get to a +3, that would be the ideal situation.
We don't mind paying, quite frankly. We can buy a ticket.
Pound of vol-au-vent.
Buy a ticket for some vol-au-vents. That'll be all right.
There we go. Well, maybe they'll do some vol-au-vents for the SheGulls over Sussex event. You never know.
I can't go to that though. I'm gutted.
Oh, you're on holiday again?
No, I've got an interview with somebody in America, and it's at 11 p.m.
There you go.
I wouldn't be able to get there and get back, or find anywhere quiet to do it. So
there we go. You'll have to be a phone a friend.
Exactly. I can be phone a friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm available till 11 p.m. So
yeah. there we go. So yeah, I think that's probably going to wrap up episode 101 of the SheGulls podcast. It's still weird to say 100 and something. It's going to take me a while to get used to that.
Really, we should have played a game of Room 101, shouldn't we?
Yes, yeah,
What
that's a good
players do you
point.
want to keep and which ones don't?
Oh, that would have been controversial.
That would be very controversial.
I already get multiple emails a day asking for my 6 players that I thought were going to leave. Which these guys know.
I don't even remember who I put on mine.
No, I can remember who I put on mine because I found the old message. But I'm not saying it could be any 6 players.
You've got to wait.
And I should also add, it's not because I want them to go. It's just I think they might go. I don't want anyone to go, but we can't have a squad of like 50 players. It's just I've asked. It's not possible.
Not possible.
Yeah.
Just for my benefit.
Yeah, that's actually, I suppose, speaking of people that have already gone and things like that, it's nice now with Yola joining. We're back up to our proper quota of Norwegians.
Yes.
Because we didn't have any for a while, and then we had 1, and now we've got 2 again, which is
and even Scandinavian players. I think they are only 2 Scandinavian players.
Yeah, we've already got our Swede.
We haven't got any Swedes anymore, have we?
Rosa was our Swede.
Yeah. So, and they're very good. They're very good at football, these Scandinavians.
Yeah.
Especially women's football. So there you go. Shout out to Charlie. Charlie's in Canada at the moment.
Oh, what is Charlie doing in Canada?
He's watching football.
Oh.
For the World Cup.
I see.
Although I presume Canada, because they came second, they didn't get to play in Canada again, which was a bit of a shame for them. But there we go. So yeah, he's soaking up the atmosphere of the World
Cape
Cup.
Town. I mean, we're a very, very cosmopolitan, worldwide audience today.
This is going to boost. Like I can see the stats behind the scenes of where people listen from, and we're going to have all these international listeners. I'll be like, who's listening from Canada?
We are now international. Yeah, that's fantastic.
There we go. Spread the word out there.
Yeah.
If you've got any SheGulls stickers left, stick them up on lampposts and
because if you're a supporters group from abroad, you get invited to stuff. So
that's true. We're still waiting for our invite to Barcelona. Of course, they'll need to include flights and accommodation, but it's only fair.
Well, help us out. Put us on a coach. We'll get there.
Yeah, it's only fair that they do that, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll. I'm sure they'll be in touch soon with all the information to get us out there. So that's going to round off this week's show. Remember, you can find us at SheGulls on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and of course on Instagram, run by a friend of the podcast, Steve Gibbs. Thank you so much, Steve, for all your hard work. You can, of course, find us at SheGulls.com, where there are links to all our other areas of interest, all the other bits and bobs. There is the much vaunted 11 players Brighton should be trying to sign right now article up, I did feature Leo Valti in the actual 11. So there you go. So that's a little Easter egg. I didn't get the crazy man, so I'm sorry, everyone. I'm firing myself as head scout. But yeah, there are some good players out there, and we're interested in them. That's the main thing. You can also find us on Facebook. If you go on over there and search for SheGulls podcast, should pop right up, and also do give Brighton women fans a follow whilst you're over there. And so all that remains for me to say is a massive thank you to you, Ben.
Well, thank you.
An enormous thank you to you, Claire.
Thanking you.
And a small thank you to the little Abby avatar over there in the corner. And I shall say this has been the SheGulls podcast. Thank you and good night.
Night, River.